Pearl Harbor.
World War II was from year 1939 until 1945, a moment in the history of the world in which the world was in a global war between almost all countries where many people and cities got affected. At World War II, there were many significant events that really made a significant impact in the world, as it could be the atomic bombs, the Stalingrad battle, D-Day, etc. But today we are going to talk specifically about Pearl Harbor, event which was one of the most impact events during war and had a great impact for the rest of the war. It brought with it important consequences.
What was Pearl Harbor? The attack, recognized as Pearl Harbor or Operation A, called that the Japanese did, was an attack from the Japanese Navy Air Service did on a USA military base located in Hawaii territory on December 7 of 1941. The attack was a strategic plan from the Japanese military service for destroy the United States Pacific Fleet that would make an intervention on the Japanese military plan of going up for the overseas possessions of these countries, the United Kingdom, the Netherlands, France, and the United States. The attack started at 7:48 a.m. Hawaii hour, and the coordinates of it were 21, 22:00 and 157, 57:00. The attack was realized by 353 Japanese airplanes, from which almost 29 from all the 353 were destroyed. Historical context. In 1941, Japan was obligated by Germany to attack the naval base of the countries that we already mentioned by going through the Pacific. Japan needed to destroy USA fleets for avoiding their intervention in this plan. Also, USA was advertised that there were going to be an attack a week or less before the attack. The president of that year, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, received a letter which said that Japanese army was going to attack Pearl Harbor, and instead of being alert for the attack, he didn't believe it, and then the attack was realized and USA nothing could do against it.
Intentions from Japan. Japan started to have problems with natural resources as steel, soil, minerals, etc. And they saw a big need for acquiring these resources quickly, so they looked at China, Indochina, and in the Pacific for meeting with these resources. As USA also had a big necessity of these resources, the USA Congress put restrictions of business with Japan, and this made that Japanese assets placed on the United States were frozen. Japan knew that if they destroyed USA Pacific float, they would have access to go into the Malasia Británica and in the Indias Orientales Neerlandesas for acquiring some oil and rubber. Japan saw the necessity of destroying USA Pacific Fleet for them to recuperate. Also, Japan was obligated by Germany to attack since they wanted to be owners of some islands from the Pacific, and since USA was the owner, they had to take it down.
Description of the event. The attack started on December 7 of 1941 with approximately 353 Japanese warplanes, which intention was to attack and even to destroy Pearl Harbor Naval Base, located in Hawaii near to Honolulu. USA could not defend since they were not prepared. They had no weapons, guns, and armament to defend. The Japanese Air Forces were launched from 6 aircraft carriers in 2 waves. First wave. The first wave was destined to destroy all the USA aircraft near to the base so that they could not have air defense, which was what they needed for taking down the Japanese airplanes. So USA saw obligated to defend by land, which was almost impossible. Second wave. The second wave was confirmed by some airplanes as torpedo and dive bombers squad to sink the USA fleet that was in the harbor. Consequences for USA after it. After this attack, USA was seen obligated to enter into the war, and this attack is like an historical mark that made USA enter into the Second World War II. Consequences for Japan. This attack brought Japan a big consequence, and was that then USA in vengeance threw in there an atomic bomb named as Little Boy Bomb and Fat Boy Bomb, which destroyed almost in a totality two cities from the country, Nagasaki and Hiroshima, and let millions of people die and get affected. Airplanes used. The Japanese army used airplanes from different types as combat fighters, bombers, and torpedo ones. Also, it was used a type of airplane called Mitsubishi, which was an attack airplane that could be used as a fighter. And the few airplanes that the USA could use were some P-4Os, which were a lot more or less advanced than the Japanese ones, so they didn't did much effect. Monument to Pearl Harbor. This monument that we can see in the ocean is a monument that was constructed inside the Arizona ship that is down of this monument, which is a monument in record to this big attack that affects too much to USA.
Interesting facts about it. 8 ships from the fleet were damaged, including in this some 3 cruisers. 3 destroyers, 1 anti-aircraft training ship. One of the most important battleships, that was the USA Arizona ship, was sunk. 190 USA warplanes were destroyed by the Japanese attack. 2,400 people were killed and 1,200 people were wounded severely.
Memory heroes. As there were many people that died and get really injured, there were some others that became heroes from this attack. Some of these persons could be James Ward, Doris Miller, Mervyn Sharp Benyon, and Peter Tomich. A brief conclusion. Pearl Harbor was an attack which idea was more to stop an intervention than to kill and destroy cities. It was also the perfect excuse for Roosevelt to throw an atomic bomb in Japan a time after. And also it was a perfect excuse for him and for USA to go into the World War II and be one of the members of the Allies.